This video is sponsored by Skillshare online learning community. Oh, and Bob Ross for inventing the happy accident. Hi guys, welcome back. Well, you can easily go down that TikTok rabbit hole very quickly. Well, unlike YouTube where you could just make a playlist of the videos you want to save and look back on, TikTok doesn't have that. You can't put them into playlists. I discovered a little secret that is a game changer. If you use TikTok like me, old school, on a PC, all you need to do is go to TikTok.com, click on a TikTok, right-click your mouse button, save video as, rename it, and hit save. It's that easy. Did you guys know that you can actually create different effects using Pabio Prisme paints directly in your coloring books? This is usually used for a jewelry application or on canvases. Here's an example of one of the ones that I've recently done, and here's another one. But did you know that you can use it directly in your books? Here is one that I had printed out on regular cardstock. I have two colors, the Prisme paint, and this is the fantasy set. Shake it up real good. Now, before you start this, you have to prep your paper a little bit. What I did was I created the outline of the jewelry using acrylic paints very simply by adding the paint to one of the bottles and just painting dots going around the jewelry. Once it's dry, you take some Mod Podge and you place a little bit on the paper. This creates a waterproof barrier, and you can paint your products to your heart's desire. The Pabio Prisme is an oil paint, and it creates these really wild effects. It is an old product. You stir it up well, and then you drop it in your hole. Let it spread out and fill in the little well that you have created for it. Now, once you use your base color, you take your next color, which I'm using red. Again, stir it up really well, and just drop onto your jewel. You can move it around at the beginning, but the thing about this paint is you don't have to do a thing. It's best to let it create its own patterns. Now, you don't want to lift it up, and you don't want to move it for several hours. Just leave it alone. Let it do its thing. Let it dry for 24 hours, and when you come back, it automatically creates cells. If you don't like the indentation, you can use a resin or even a little bit of Mod Podge on top just to seal it in. Another product you can use to create the jewels on a page, I'm using Color Shift paint by Folk Art and one of those little squeezing tubes. Same way of preparing it, but now I just squeeze the paint in and let it dry. And here we're going to have some two-tone emeralds when this dries. Now, if you look close at this one, I'll zoom in. You can already see the jewel taking shape. Now, if you want to add a little bit of baguette stones in between, you just change the color and add your little stones. Keep in mind that paint does shrink down, so you may have to add another coat or add a thickening agent such as PVC glue. Do you have a specific skill that you want to learn? I'm always trying to learn different techniques, things that will make me not only a better artist, but a better teacher. Today's video was sponsored by Skillshare, an online learning community where millions of creatives come together to take the next step of their artistic journey. There are thousands of inspiring classes for the curious and creative on topics such as animation, film and video, fine arts, graphic design, and much, much more. Whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or an expert, there's something there for you. Right now, I'm taking Jen Dixon's watercolor bootcamp class, and it just happens that it's on color mixing paint. Skillshare is created specifically to learn new skills in any desired subject. There are no ads. Why not check them out? You've got nothing to lose except a missed opportunity. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description box or my code, Color My World, will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. I had a lot of requests for more information on how I did the sparkly globe, and I thought I would just create one for you right from the start, so it will help if you want to make them yourself. So you need a couple of things. You need a bowl. Now I made a smaller one. This is a cabochon for jewelry. Gorgeous. And you're going to need some plaster. Now, I don't use plaster of Paris, even though I say, oh, it's like plaster of Paris. This is a little bit better than plaster of Paris. It's called perfect plaster. And it's like a porcelain-like powder. And I'll show you how I mix it up. You don't need to bake it. You don't need anything except the rock mold. I'll leave everything in the description box below where you can get this stuff and follow along with this. You have to make up the plaster first, and it's very easy to do. I've been doing cast plastering for 30 years. I started with stuff that wasn't even half as good as this. And I usually use like a scoop, maybe a little bit more. I'm running out. So, okay. Now the amount you use, you need enough to cover this, which is about 1/4 cup of it made. All you do is add water to this. Now the water is questionable. A lot of people have their recipes. I've been doing this, as I said, for 30 years. I go by consistency. So I add water to it, and then I stir it up. Make sure it's stirred up really well. This is very dry, so I know I need to add more. Within a few minutes, it turns like the consistency of toothpaste, and that's the consistency you want. But make sure you break up all the lump, because that's just powder. You have about a 10-minute work span that you can do this in before it starts to set. You don't need 10 minutes. Hey, this is probably pretty good. It's a little bit watery, but it's fine. Excess water is not a big deal. You can add a little bit extra powder to it, or you can leave it alone. Water is like a catalyst to the powder. So it's gonna just float to the top if there's any extra. You can just pour it into the mold. I try to get as much out of the bowl as I can because it makes cleanup easy. Hey, once I have the mold filled, you're gonna leave it alone, just sitting there. Don't try to clean this stuff. This stuff will harden and then just pop right out and you throw it away. If you try to wash this stuff out, this stuff will get into your drain. Just leave it alone. And I'm gonna let this harden. What you're gonna find is that it's gonna warm up, and when it sets, it's gonna cool down. So about 20 minutes, half hour, it'll be ready to be unmolded. If you look really close at it, you could see some water. Don't be impatient with that. Just leave it alone. If you've added too much water to the plaster, it will rise to the top. It'll evaporate. What you don't want to do is dry it off. For whatever reason, it weakens it. So just leave it alone and have patience. You're going to have to wait a couple days for this to fully dry anyway. So you can demold it, and it comes out very easily. I'm sorry, I might have to take it off camera just to pop it, and there you have it. Now it's wet, leave it alone. Put it on your windowsill, put it outside. That's where I live in the desert, so it's dry. On the back, you can get these little bubbles. You can add some plaster to it and then just sand it down, and you can have a perfect stone. But it came out fine. Here's another one that I've done. And you can see the difference in the color. Look how white this one is in comparison to this. And this one is much heavier. It lightens up over the days as it dries, and very hard like a stone. So here is one that I've primed in just the black. And in my video where I first showed this, I primed the whole thing in black. But I've also bought the white, and I think I'm going to do a combination of colors. And I love this stuff. It's Art Basics. Here is the difference. And I bought the black and white so that I can have a gray if I wanted it. I'm going to be doing this in two-tone. I really don't want a flat black over the whole entire thing. This is just a disposable craft sponge, and I'm going to just dip it. I buy these in packs of 100. They're really good just to have for doing projects like this. Okay, get the whole inside all creamy, and then I'm going to add a little bit of black to the outside. Okay, I'm going to continue to work on this. I want to get it so that it's like gray Here is the way a flat ombre grayscale would look on here. You see how the top is now like gray instead of like a flat black? Like this would be completely flat black. And you could see it better if I put it up against each other. I'm going to try it with this, but I have a feeling it's not going to work out, and I'm going to end up painting it flat black. I decided to do a Fibonacci pattern, and it's very easy. The cap and the stencil come with the set. All you do is take a chalk pencil, make your outline using the stencil, and then add a series of dots with using a graduated dotting tool set. The set that I used for this one I got at Harbor Freight. They may sell it on Amazon. I'm doing the bottom dot in white, and then I'm going to do top dots for you in grayscale, going from really dark in the center to light on the outside. Okay, I'm ready to do the final reveal. So this is the first one when I just sprayed it with that gorgeous iridescent spray. Came out like glass. This is not the exact one I showed you in the other video. That one's already gone. It was called on. I've got this one. When I say happy accidents, I mean happy accidents. Because after I sprayed it and did everything that I wanted to do on it, I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. I didn't like it so much that I started a new one. And I just have the lines on there. But I looked over at it. And I said, you know, I want to try something different because I didn't like it the first time. And you would have never known the difference. So I was going to do it the second time. Do not mind the paint on my hands. I haven't washed up yet. I decided to do a couple of things that I wanted to try on the second one that might have worked. And I love it. So here is the one that I was working on. And it's quite shiny, so it might be in your eyes. Look at that. Now, what did I change about it? Well, after I had done the gray on it, I just didn't like the way it looked. It washed out. When I put the iridescent spray on it, it sort of lightened up so much you could barely see anything. It was sparkly. It kind of just looked blah. So I looked over and said, what happens if I add some black dots? Just black dots. So I went back with my dotting tools. Here they are. And these are the tools that I use. Okay? And I went back and I redotted it. But I knew I wanted to leave a little bit of the white. So I off-centered the black dots slightly so that the white peeked out. And then I said, I really want them shiny. I gave it a top coat of the triple thick spray. And I love this. And I'm keeping it. And with that, I would like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. And I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.